gentlemen, please shall we all take our seats. I'll start in Chi. Se kasa Asante your maya enie. If we say Asante is a kingdom, this is the display. This is what it means. We're honored to be here today. My name is Rudy Kwachi, and I serve as the Chief of Staff for the Millennium Excellence Foundation. And on behalf of the President of the Foundation, the distinguished chiefs, the distinguished paramountcies, the distinguished members of the royal household, we bid you welcome to this great evening. I'll first say thank you to Howard University. You did not relent. You did not. In fact, that thank you needs to come with that. It was indeed a long shot, but it was also a short one, because when we walked in, it was like, bet, as I learned on American streets, please. They said, bet. I was like, which betting are you talking about? Anyway, another thing. But it's like, yes, let's do that. And it's a great history. But the person that helps us put everything together, my distinguished lady right here, our principal consultant for the Millennium Excellence Foundation, Dr. Ajua Boche Asamoah. And she's here to give us the opening remarks, and we can kick things off. But before that, I'll let her mention her name in full. If she doesn't, she won't talk. Your name in full, every one of them.
Give me a hug.
No.
No.
Your name in full.
Get out of here. Thank you, my dear friend and partner in this work. Your Majesty, Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, Asantehene, greetings to you. Thank you for your global leadership and for gracing us with your presence today. Dr. Anthony K. Ruto, Provost and Chief Academic Officer, to the Assistant Provost and Executive Director of the Ralph J. Bunche International Affairs Center, Dr. Hope, to Congressman Gabe Amo, to the multiple diplomats, our current Ghana to the U.S. Ambassador, His Excellency Victor Smith, to the former Ambassador of Ghana to the U.S. and Chairman of the Royal Visit, and my uncle, His Excellency Kobe Kunson, to the many elected officials, to the university leadership, cabinet members and deans, to the traditional leaders, chiefs and queen mothers, to the president and the chief of staff of the Millennium Excellence Foundation and sponsor of the entire Royal U.S. Visit, to the entire faculty, especially Dr. Greg Carr, Dr. Krista Johnson, and Dr. Talton, to the leaders of our international civic and business organizations, to the members of the GSU, my babies, to the proud students and alum of HU. See, call and response actually survived. To the many family, friends, sorors, frat, my goddaughter Blake, and all gathered here today. Greetings to each of you. Now, I pledge the old way, and I'm African, so we know that the greeting ritual is important. I am Dr. Adra Yaniba B. Asamoah, and it is my high honor and distinct pleasure to serve as the MC of this momentous occasion. I should note, the idea to have this here was not mine. That credit belongs to the leadership of the Millennium Excellence Foundation, who in turn tapped me to help inform, shape, and actualize their vision. When asked to serve on the planning committee for the royal visit, there was obviously no hesitation. There was, however, full disclosure. I shared that while I am proudly Professor Butri Asamoah's baby girl born on Monday, I am not an Asante woman, but I am a Khan. And my mother was born in this country and is a descendant of those who survived the African Holocaust. I was quickly and convincingly assured by Mr. Moulton that this royal visit would be rooted in Pan-Africanism. So I am here. I am here as a proud daughter of Ghana in an auditorium full of Africa's children on the historic campus of Howard University for what promises to be an enlightening evening and one of many steps to come in recognition that the responsibility of unifying us everywhere is shared. Now, before we hear from the esteemed provost of this institution, let me go through some housekeeping for our time together. So I need you all to pull out your phones. I know you have them, so pull them out. Everybody pull out your phones. And I need you to silence them. Ringers, text messages, Instagram and WhatsApp message notifications, all of it. And for the next hour or so, let's just be in community with each other as a family. Let's see, the restrooms are downstairs and there is no eating in this venue. I now have the privilege of introducing the provost of this esteemed institution. He has held various roles at the university, including Dean of the College of Pharmacy and Assistant Provost for International Programs. He earned a BA from the University of Maryland, Baltimore County in 1987. It's in your bio, I didn't tell everybody. Followed by a BS in pharmacy and a Doctor of Philosophy in Pharmacy Administration. He has held and led various international programs, including sponsored projects in Nigeria, South Africa, Zambia, Kenya, Rwanda, Ethiopia, Ghana, and more. Dr. Wuto has been practicing as a pharmacist in Maryland since 1990 and has worked in various settings, including hospital, retail, consulting, and community pharmacy, as well as academia. He is the recipient of multiple awards. He is Ghana's son. He is an alpha, a husband, and a dad, and he is my new bestie on campus for all that he has done to ensure this event actually happens. So family, join me in welcoming the provost.
Your Majesty, Otumfuo, Osei, Tutu II, the Asantehene, Excellencies and members of the Diplomatic Corps, honorable members of the United States Congress, distinguished government officials, members of the Howard University Board of Trustees, faculty, staff, students, alumni, and invited guests, all protocols now being observed. Good evening. On behalf of the entire Howard University community and as a native Ghanaian, it is both an honor and a privilege to extend our warmest welcome to His Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, the Asantehene, and King of the Ashanti Kingdom in Ghana. Your Majesty, your presence on this historic campus
is profoundly meaningful. As one of Africa's most respected traditional leaders, you have distinguished yourself through visionary leadership, steadfast dedication to education, impactful philanthropy, and an unwavering commitment to the advancement of your people and the African continent. Your leadership reflects the values that resonate deeply with Howard University's mission of truth, service, excellence, and global engagement. For nearly 160 years, Howard University has served as a beacon of intellectual achievement and social progress, nurturing leaders who have transformed nations and shaped the global discourse on justice, freedom, and human dignity. Today, we are especially honored to welcome a leader whose legacy similarly reflects a commitment to upholding communities, preserving cultural heritage, and empowering future generations. The relationship between Howard University and Ghana is one grounded in history, shared aspirations, and enduring ties between Africa and the African diaspora. Within 5 years of the founding of this university, in 1872, we graduated our first group of international students, which included one from Prussia, one from the West Indies, and one who listed his address as Cape Coast Castle, Gold Coast, modern-day Ghana. In fact, the fourth president of Howard University, Edward Parmelee Smith, was selected to be president, but unfortunately passed during a mission trip to West Africa and is buried near Accra. Your visit strengthens these connections and reminds us of the importance of cultivating partnerships that advance scholarship, innovation, cultural understanding, and economic opportunity across the globe. We're equally honored by the presence of our distinguished congressional delegation, ambassadors, members of the diplomatic community, and esteemed guests whose participation underscores the significance of this occasion. Together, we celebrate the enduring bonds of friendship, cooperation, and mutual respect that unite our nations, our institutions, and our peoples. Your Majesty, we thank you for gracing Howard University with your presence. We're proud to welcome you to the campus of the nation's premier historically Black university and honored to count you among our distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in extending a warm Howard University welcome to His Majesty, Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, the Asantehene. and welcome to Howard University. HU.
Thank you for that warm welcome to campus. You are proof that Africa's people, pride, and power extend beyond the physical borders of the continent, and I am grateful for your leadership. Next up, we have the Dr. Greg Carr. Now, full disclosure, Dr. Carr raised me and is my oldest brother, but that's not why he is on the program. There's no introduction that I could give him that would do him justice, but for those of you who do not know him, he is Associate Professor of Africana Studies and Adjunct Faculty at the Howard School of Law, the School District of Philadelphia's first resident scholar on race and culture. Dr. Carr led a team of academics and educators in the design of the curriculum framework for Philadelphia's mandatory high school African American history course. Dr. Carr is the first vice president of the Association for the Study of Classical African Civilizations. I could go on and on and on and on, but I'll end here. And before I ask them to welcome you, I need to acknowledge a very special woman who was with us, Her Royal Highness, Lady Julia Osei Tutu, Queen Consort of His Majesty, and look how beautiful she is. Thank you for gracing us with your presence this evening. Now, family, friends, and all gathered here today, please join me in welcoming the Dr. Greg Carr.
Yes, ma'am. Otumfuo, Madame, welcome. Kwaba. To everyone, as our brother the provost has said, protocol haven't been established, so everyone here is a dignitary. We have survived after all. We are here, Otumfuo, for your visit. Only the second person to hold fully the name Osei Tutu. From the 17th century, a century older than this country. When this country was working out articles of confederation, and we were in chains, there was an Asante Federation. To have taken the name of your great-granduncle, Osei Tutu, the first, who united Asante after many years of conflict and war, who with his brother, Okoye, calling to the sky for help from heaven, and then the Sikedwa, the golden stool, descends from heaven. Coming to the feet of Osei Tutu, unifying Asante. At its peak, the kingdom stretched from the forests to the Atlantic Ocean. Oh, if you could have stopped the violence that drug us here. And yet we have survived. In this moment, standing here with this honor that my sister ordered me to do, I feel a real responsibility, because as we were together a moment ago in the library, you saw so many of the women and men who work on this campus, the staff, the faculty, the students who are here, the children of Africa. We welcome you not only as a dignitary, we welcome you not only as one of the most unbroken examples of leadership anywhere in the world,
But we know that the tradition in which you sit and stand is a tradition that doesn't even begin in what we now call Ghana. We know that our people in the West came from the East. And we know that divine mandate for rulership begins in so many ways in the Nile Valley. And when we listen to the Akan, when we listen to the stories, when we listen to the conversations, the history passed from mouth to ear, the migrations keep going to Central and then East Africa, and somewhere in the Nile, somewhere, as my brother Mario Beatty teaches us all the time, somewhere in that Nile Valley are the roots even of West Africa and of Asante. And we know that that is the oldest tradition of leadership. To call it democracy, yes, to call it democracy would be to shrink it, because there is no model in the world, whether it be the indigenous people, whether it be people of Asia, certainly the people of Western Eurasia that we call Europe, there is no tradition of leadership in the world that matches what we are here to bear witness to through you all today. We know that you would not sit in this position if it were not for your mother, the 13th Queen Mother of Asante. We know that when you see a man in leadership in Asante, it's because the women have allowed it. We know that when you strike Asante, you have struck a rock. And when the Anglos came, when the British came and demanded the Sikejwa, the golden throne, because they thought they would break you, you fought war after war in the 19th century. Those Anglo-Asante wars. And you sit here as living proof that we did not lose. Today, as we sit here in preparation to listen to you, I reflect on the words that you brought to the world through the United Nations, the 20th anniversary of your rulership, and you call for peace. Now, of course, if you know the history of Africa in general and the Asante in particular, you know that peace isn't always the first choice. Sometimes you got to fight. And when Kwame Nkrumah, who visited this campus, of course, Kwame Nkrumah, who spent 11 years in the United States at historically black colleges and universities, first and foremost Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. When Kwame Nkrumah assumed leadership in Ghana, and the Asante said, okay, we'll go along with you, but you know, if you hadn't sided with the British against us in the beginning, we could have stopped this mess when it started. We know that every day we live, we have another chance to improve. So I'm going to take my seat. I just want to mention a couple of other things because it's important for all of us to let all of everyone who is a visitor here, and believe me, none of you are visitors, beginning with you all. Y'all are now family. You always were, but now you know formally. It's important for you to understand, I think, a little bit better, I'm sure you do already, the impact that Asante has had on us. My own blood niece is named Asantewa, because when the British took Primpi into exile, and that sister came out of Ajiso, that Queen Mother, and the Asante said, maybe we will negotiate with the British, and oh, Ya Asantewa stood, that Queen Mother, and said, oh, ye men of Asante. Oh, never would I think I would live to see the day that you would not fight for the return of your king. But if you will not fight, the women of Asante will be on the battlefield in the morning. And when we achieve victory, you are not welcome in our beds. The next morning, the entire Asante nation face the British. I don't mean to embarrass you, Otumfuo, but those black women are bad, ain't they? You already know. There is something for us never to forget. We never stop being Africans. Your visit here strengthens the loop. We are at your service, and you are part of our family. So as you stand and we get ready to hear from you, please understand that whether it be Howard or FAMU, whether it be Lincoln or Grambling, whether it be Tennessee State or Oakwood College or everywhere in between, we are sister institutions to Legon and Kwame Nkrumah University of Technology. We are sister institutions to the University of Cape Town and University of the West Indies. We're one big black college, Baba. And we're very happy that you are here to join us, and we can't wait to hear from you. Madase, please.
The 16th occupant of the golden stool of the Ashanti Kingdom has made a mark. Among them are conflict resolution, promotion of peace, cultural renaissance, education, infrastructural development, philanthropy, as well as partnership between his kingdom and the state. In this case, the government of Ghana. His ideas caught on with the World Bank. In his 5th year, Otumfuo II became the first traditional ruler or a non-state actor to receive a grant from the World Bank to pursue his objectives.
The president then of the bank loved Otumfuo. He respected him. And when Otumfuo said, I would like to get some money to set up schools in Ashanti, he got it, and there were a lot of schools.
Ghanaian heads of state have hailed the crucial interventions Otumfuo made in the nation's quest to secure help from the Bretton Woods institutions.
If Otumfuo had not been there in Washington at that time to influence his friends to work on IMF, I don't know what would have become of Ghana's budget. And the people may not know. But for that epic success, I tell you, perhaps the economy of Ghana today might not be the same. We wouldn't have made the headway.
For one of the times I went to Kumasi and I discussed with him and I said, I know you have contacts, with some of these leaders of international finance institutions. So I want you to get involved and see how you can get us into a program. So he quickly agreed and went to the IMF office and met Lagarde, who was the head of IMF at the time. And she went and talked to him and said, look, my country wants to get into a program. Your people are taking too long. These are the issues. Of course, we have briefed him what the issues were. And so Lagarde, said, oh, okay, we'll deal with it. And so she called the mission chief for Ghana and all that and gave them instructions. And then we noticed that things started moving quicker. And then eventually we signed off on the IMF program.
We felt that if chiefs were supported to carry out development projects, it will be more permanent than politicians use it as an election gimmick. So the World Bank bought into this idea and granted us a huge facility to do this traditional authority partnership with the World Bank.
A bid to host the headquarters of the African Continental Free Trade Area. When Otumfuo waded into those waters upon the request of government, Ghana got it.
We had 7 very strong countries that put in their bids, and that included Egypt, Eswatini, Ethiopia, Ghana, Kenya, Madagascar, and Senegal. Now, as the leader of the planning team for pushing Ghana's bid, I decided that in view of the intensity of the competition ahead of us, that it would be very critical for me to mobilize the entire cabinet and senior government officials to put their weight behind this campaign. But it needed to go beyond government officials. For me, it was important that we identify eminent personalities in Ghana who, beyond the weight of government, could also bring their own reputation to bear upon Ghana's bid to host the secretariat. And obviously, one of the decisions that we made as a planning team was to respectfully request through His Excellency the President that His Majesty, His Royal Majesty, the Asantehene, also lend his weight to the campaign.
You needed Otumfuo to use his good offices and his extensive network to assist Ghana to be selected as host of the Secretariat. Then the idea also came that he could send me as an emissary to go. So I was wearing a double hat as an emissary of government and as emissary of the king. And we put up our case that despite our pedigree when it comes to continental matters, Ghana has never hosted any of the AU organs or bodies. So it was one of the trump cards in our arsenal that we used to push for the Secretariat.
A fratricidal conflict broke out in Dagbon in the northern region of Ghana in 2002. It was a bloodbath that claimed the life of a traditional ruler and many others. But the sides to the conflict rejected the state's direct role in the resolution of the crisis. Asantehene, chosen by President Otumfuo to be the lead mediator, funded the peace mechanism for 17 years before peace was restored in the tenure of President Akufo-Addo. Asantehene also eased tensions between sitting and former presidents of Ghana and committed all key political stakeholders to a peace declaration prior to election 2012. These caused the UN to invite him to attend the 73rd UN General Assembly meeting in New York to speak.
In this climate, I suggest that the UN family cannot afford to remain glued to the established order without seeking pathways of reaching out to establish appropriate links capable of exerting the right influence in the quest for peace and security. I speak here particularly of Africa.
Asantehene has been solicited by the current president, John Dramani Mahama, to broker peace at another flashpoint, Boko. There have been mutual visits between the monarch of Ashanti and the British royal household. Asantehene Otumfuo II has been peripatetic worldwide, owing to invitations for awards or to confer with other leaders. His Menchia Palace in Kumasi has also witnessed a good number of local and foreign visitors.
This is why the Asantehene is known affectionately as the Pillar of Peace. Next up, to introduce His Majesty, who she calls her king, is my baby girl, Madeline Animiwa Osei Wama. She is a senior at Howard, a student leader, the immediate past president of the Howard Ghanaian Student Union, the 17th Miss Africa of the Howard University African Student Union, and the Transition and Student Success Chair for the Howard University Student Association. For the past several months, she has also been my right hand in working on this event, and I am so very proud to work with her, again, on behalf of the Millennium Excellence Foundation. Baby girl Osei, it is your time to shine and introduce your king.
Good evening. My name is Madeline Animiwa Osei Wama. I am a senior chemistry major, biology and maternal and child health double minor from Charlottesville, Virginia, by way of Kwawu, Ghana. For many of us as student leaders, saying yes to an idea, lending a helping hand, or helping to bring a vision to life on campus is simply part of what we do. But what we cannot always anticipate is what the magnitude of a simple yes may turn into. And I certainly did not anticipate this when I said yes many months ago. When the Ghanaian Student Union was formed 4 years ago by Janice, Samuela, and Darrell, They could not have known that their vision would one day lead to this moment. They created a space for students to connect with one another and share Ghanaian culture to the Howard University community. Tonight, that vision comes full circle as the Ghanaian Student Union welcomes the Asantehene to Howard University. For generations, Howard University has brought people together across cultures and generations. Tonight, that tradition continues as we welcome a distinguished traditional leader to our historic campus. His Majesty, Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, is the 16th Asantehene. Installed in 1999 at Minshia Palace in Kumasi, for more than 25 years, His Majesty has carried the responsibility of the Golden Stool, the sacred symbol of Asante culture, unity, and sovereignty. His reign has shown that traditional leadership can remain deeply rooted while continuing to shape the world around it. For many of us who carry Ghana with us as we build our lives beyond its borders, moments like this remind us that history is not defined by geography. It lives in the history we inherit, the culture we carry, and the relationships we continue to build way beyond the borders. Tonight, we have the opportunity to engage with a living institution of Ghanaian culture, history, and leadership. While we reflect on what our shared heritage asks of us as the next generation. Your Majesty, it is my profound honor to welcome you to Howard University. On behalf of the Howard University Ghanaian Student Union, the Howard University community, thank you for joining us at the Mecca. Please rise if you are able and join me in welcoming His Majesty Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, the 16th Asantehene.
Asantehene kadafo boniaye kadabio boniaye Asantehene kadafo boniaye kadabio minya boniaye nana die waye Asante beka wo wayine kadabio boniaye Asantehene kadafo boniaye kadabio. Otokoli kase krobiaine kasangen. Otokoli kase krobiaine kasangen. Mema krobiaine fi amani kotokungen. Mema krobiaine fi amani kotokungen. Asante chanjot mo champonu fungen. Asante chanjot mo champonu fungen. Asante siesiebo smenditien. Asante siesiebo smenditien. Krobia santinade kasangen. Krobia santinade kasangen. Satutu everybody here is you. Say to tell you what the year is you. What person had the asumjeni asumje ba touch memni Ghana men na. What person so na dia asumdie ne nkabombo Asanteman Ghana menyina. Obinya sebi anko baby. Obinya sebi anko baby. Lego bakana ne flampo no demli ferisi. Lego bakana ne flampo demli ferisi. Dimo jamingo da ko ya dungen. Dimo jamingo da ko ya dungen. Lego na dia ko boje jota tot mo champo no fungen. Lego na dia ko boje jota tot mo champo no fungen. Otosika sama ne de jakungen. Otosika sama ne de jakungen. Jakwe bo ba ko jun flawo. Jakwe bo ba ko jun flawo. Ona flawo flampo no demli fao. Ona flawo flampo demli fao. O saji fogu nyagwa singen. O saji fogu nyagwa singen. O plaza tunade kasangen. O plaza tunade kasangen. O kubede ko bla demli fao nyagwa si ajuna chemera.
On behalf of my dear wife and children, and on behalf of the chiefs and people of Asanteman, I bring you warm greetings. I'm deeply honored to stand before you at Howard University today, an institution whose history occupies a distinguished place in the intellectual, political, and social advancement of people of African descent. I express my sincere appreciation to the Executive Board of the Millennium Excellence Foundation and to the leadership of Howard University for extending this invitation to me and for creating this opportunity for us to reflect together upon matters that concern not merely Ghana or Africa, but the wider historical family of African peoples across the world. Howard University is more than an institution at which knowledge is transmitted and academic degrees are awarded. It's an institution of memory, intellectual courage, social responsibility, and service. Since its establishment, it has helped generations of men and women of African descent to demonstrate that education is not simply a pathway towards individual advancement, but also a responsibility towards society. Its commitment to truth and service makes this university an especially appropriate place to consider the relationship among governance, cultural preservation, traditional leadership, and the reconstruction of meaningful bonds between Africa and its diaspora. The theme placed before us is profound because it brings together three subjects that are too often considered separately. Governance concerns the organization of power and responsibility. Culture concerns the meaning a people give to their existence. And the diaspora concerns the survival of identity across geography, displacement, and historical rupture. Yet beneath all these three lies one fundamental question. How does a people organize itself, understand itself, and transmit to future generations an inheritance worthy of preservation? My proposition this evening is that traditional leadership, when exercised with integrity, wisdom, accountability, and respect for constitutional government, remains an important part of the answer to that question. Traditional leadership should not be understood merely as an institution inherited from the past, nor should culture be reduced to ceremonial display. Properly understood, both are living resources that can contribute to good governance, social cohesion, peace building, education, development, cultural confidence, and the renewal of relationship between Africa and the peoples of African descent throughout the world. Governance is frequently confused with government. Yet while government refers to the formal institutions of the state, the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, ministries, public agencies, and the administrative machinery through which public policy is implemented,
Governance is wider. It concerns the manner in which authority is acquired, exercised, limited, and transferred, how resources are managed, how disputes are resolved, how leaders are held accountable, how the vulnerable are protected, and how society defines and pursues the common good. A nation may possess an impressive constitution and yet experience poor governance. It may hold regular elections and still fail to provide justice, security, education, healthcare, or meaningful participation for substantial sections of its population. Institutions do not operate in a moral vacuum. They operate within cultures, habits, expectations, and systems of social obligation. Law is indispensable, but law alone cannot create a good society. A constitution may determine what a public official is permitted to do, but culture helps determine what society believes a responsible leader ought to do. A court may punish corruption after the offense has occurred. Still, society must also cultivate the moral conviction that public resources are held in trust and must not be treated as private property. A judicial decision may determine the legal rights of parties to a dispute, but judgment alone does not always restore damaged relationships within families and communities. Governance, therefore, requires more than institutional machinery. It requires legitimacy, trust, moral restraint, memory, and shared expectations, as well as citizens and leaders who understand that rights are inseparable from obligations and that power is inseparable from responsibility. Traditional African political systems understood this relationship between authority and moral obligation in ways that deserve serious academic attention. Leadership was rarely conceived merely as the possession of unrestricted power. The ruler was expected to protect the community, administer justice, preserve the land, defend the vulnerable, and maintain the people's inheritance. Authority was therefore accompanied by responsibility, and that principle remains relevant to our modern world. Power, separated from responsibility, becomes dangerous. Authority, separated from accountability, eventually loses legitimacy. And leadership that seeks privilege without accepting obligation weakens the institution from which that privilege derives. Permit me in this respect to draw upon the Asante constitutional tradition. The Asante political system is sometimes misunderstood by those who encounter only its visible manifestations: the golden stool, the royal umbrellas, the drums, the gold ornaments, the linquets as they stand here, the swords, the procession, and the great ceremonies of state. These symbols are important because they are the visible language through which memory and authority are communicated. But beneath the splendor lies a sophisticated philosophy of political responsibility. A golden stool is not the private property of the Asantehene. It represents the unity, identity, historical continuity, and collective spirit of Asanteman. The Asantehene is therefore not the owner of the nation, but its custodian, and that distinction is fundamental. The occupant of the golden stool receives an inheritance that existed before him, and which must endure after him. He holds authority temporarily, but he holds the people's heritage in trust. The land, institutions, memories, and moral obligations associated with the stool cannot legitimately be reduced to the personal interest of the individual who occupies it. Because from this perspective, leadership is a form of trusteeship. The idea of trusteeship contains an important lesson for all systems of governance. We hold office temporarily. We inherit institutions from those who came before us. And although we exercise authority in the present, our decisions affect people who are not yet born. The leader who consumes everything for the advantage of the present generation has misunderstood the nature of stewardship.
This principle has particular urgency in an age of environmental degradation, uncontrolled exploitation of natural resources, and political decision-making dominated by short-term considerations. We did not create the rivers, forests, land, and ecological systems that sustain us. We inherited them. And whatever our authority may be today, we have no moral right to destroy the inheritance of generations unborn.
Job.
Traditional governments also reminds us.
Job.
Traditional governance also reminds us that legitimate authority requires consultation. Our people say, "Tikron kwejina," meaning that one head does not constitute a council. And we also say, "Nyansen ni nipa baako tirim," meaning that wisdom does not reside in the head of one person alone. These are not merely attractive proverbs, they communicate a political philosophy. The Asantehene exercises authority through an established order of chiefs, queen mothers, elders, linguists, and recognized customary officers. Matters are considered, evidence may be heard, historical precedent may be recalled. Different perspectives may be presented, and decisions are shaped by consultation and concern for communal harmony. Consultation does not mean that leadership has no authority, nor does listening diminish the dignity of the leader. The leader who refuses to hear contrary opinion eventually becomes imprisoned by those who tell him only what he wishes to hear. Responsible leadership must therefore create room for difficult truth. The modern world sometimes equates decisiveness with refusing consultation, but our ancestors understood differently. They knew that the strength of a decision may depend upon the quality of deliberation that precedes it. This does not mean that traditional institutions should be romanticized, because no institution, traditional, political, religious, or academic, is beyond criticism or reform. And antiquity alone does not confer moral perfection. Traditional authority must justify its continuing relevance through service. A chief who is concerned only with ceremony, privileges, titles, and public honor gradually diminishes the institution he represents. At the same time, a traditional ruler who listens to his people, protects community resources, promotes education, mediates conflict, assists the vulnerable, and responds to contemporary challenges strengthens both tradition and society. Traditional leadership in the 21st century cannot therefore be limited to festivals and ceremonial occasions. It must be capable of responding to educational inequality, unemployment, environmental degradation, land disputes, public health emergencies, community conflict, and the anxieties of young people. The palace must remain a guardian of memory, but it must also become a workshop for the future. This requires traditional institutions themselves to accept reform, because tradition must never become a shield behind which injustice, corruption, exploitation, or arbitrary authority are protected. The dignity of women and children must be defended. Young people must be heard. Persons with disabilities must not be marginalized. Community resources must be managed responsibly. Land administration must be transparent, and succession and customary processes must be conducted with integrity. The proper defense of tradition is therefore not an insistence that nothing should ever change, but the capacity to distinguish between enduring principles of an institution and those practices that require reconsideration. A tree survives because its roots hold firmly to the soil, but it also survives because its branches respond to the wind and reach towards the light, and so must our institutions. This brings me to culture. Culture is frequently treated as entertainment, appearing at festivals, tourism events, diplomatic ceremonies, and national celebrations, while being too often absent from serious conversations about development, governance, and the future of society. This is a mistake because culture is not merely music, dance, clothing, food, and ceremony, important though these are. Culture includes language, morality, historical memory, family organization, spirituality, political philosophy, customary law, artistic knowledge, methods of conflict resolution, environmental understanding, and ideas about what constitutes a good human life. Culture tells the people who they are and provides the intellectual and moral vocabulary through which people understand birth and death, childhood and adulthood, marriage and family, authority and responsibility, suffering and hope. A society that loses confidence in its culture eventually loses confidence in itself. But cultural preservation does not require us to free society at some imagined moment in the past. Culture is not a dead object to be placed behind glass. It is a living inheritance that must be understood, practiced, questioned, renewed, and transmitted. Modernity must not be confused with imitation. Africa should learn from the achievements of other civilizations and adopt useful technologies, scientific discoveries, sound administrative systems, and institutions that improve human life. But participation in the modern world should not require us to abandon our own languages, intellectual traditions, and historical consciousness. Progress should never require a people to despise themselves. This is why the preservation of African languages deserves urgent attention. Language is more than vocabulary. It carries history, humor, philosophy, moral reasoning, and the categories through which a people interprets reality. In our proverbs, appellations, songs, court language, and oral traditions, some ideas cannot always be fully translated into another language. When a language disappears, humanity does not merely lose a method of communication. Humanity loses a distinctive way of understanding the world. We must therefore ask ourselves difficult questions about how many African children can speak the languages of their grandparents fluently. How many, and I must confess, my children have been taught how to speak, and now they are speaking Trip regularly. When they were young, they thought they were American and British, but now they know that they are Ghanaians. And then how many understand the histories of their towns and villages and families? How many know the meanings carried by the symbols of their communities? And how many can interpret the proverb that once educated generations in ethics, responsibility, and social conduct? We cannot leave the answers to chance. Cultural preservation must become part of serious educational policy. Universities, traditional authorities, museums, families, churches, community institutions, and governments must work together to document endangered knowledge, record oral histories, preserve archives, and train younger generations to interpret their heritage. Technology must become an ally of cultural preservation. Our generation has tools that those before us could scarcely imagine, allowing voices that once existed only in human memory to be preserved, manuscripts to be digitized, historical photographs to be restored and archived, oral histories to be recorded, and endangered languages to be documented and taught across continents. Preservation must, however, remain ethical, because not every sacred object, ritual, or body or traditional knowledge is intended for unrestricted circulation. Cultural knowledge has custodians, contests, and responsibilities.
and digitization should preserve heritage without stripping it of dignity and meaning. It is within this discussion of history and identity that we must confront the experience of the global African diaspora. The diaspora emerged through several historical processes. Some Africans left the continent voluntarily in pursuit of education, commerce, employment, and opportunity. In contrast, millions of others were forcibly removed through systems of enslavement that inflicted immeasurable suffering upon Africa and its descendants. The transatlantic slave trade separated families, disrupted societies, and transported generations of African men, women, and children into systems that sought not only their labor but their humanity. The consequences of that history did not disappear with the abolition of slavery. They remain visible in questions of race, inequality, economic exclusion, cultural displacement, and the continuing struggle for equal citizenship and dignity. Yet the history of the African diaspora cannot be written only as a history of victimhood, because it is also a history of survival, resistance, intellectual achievement, political courage, scientific innovation, and cultural creativity. Those who crossed the Atlantic under conditions of extreme violence carried more than their bodies. They carried memory, spirituality, rhythm, agricultural knowledge, artistic traditions, and ideas about family and community. And the conditions designed to raise them, they recreated themselves. And across Americas, the Caribbean, Europe, and elsewhere, African-descended communities transformed societies that had often denied them equality. The diaspora gave the world physicians, scientists, judges, political leaders, intellectuals, artists, educators, freedom fighters, entrepreneurs, and builders of institutions. It participated in movements against slavery, colonialism, segregation, apartheid, and racial injustice, supported struggles for African independence, and helped turn the liberation of Africa into global cause. Africa and its diaspora, therefore, owe one another a depth of recognition, and the relationship cannot be understood as one in which Africa provides ancestral identity while the diaspora provides financial resources. That would be an impoverished interpretation. That would be an impoverished interpretation of a profound historical relationship. We are participants in one long historical conversation. Ghana has played an important role in efforts to rebuild these relationships, and initiatives such as the Year of Return and Beyond the Return have encouraged people of African descent to visit Ghana and reconnect with the continent. These initiatives have been valuable, but the relationship must now move beyond ceremonial homecoming. A photograph at a historic site does not by itself create belonging. An African name does not by itself create belonging. And attendance at a festival does not by itself create belonging. Belonging is created through relationship, understanding, responsibility, and sustained participation. The Akan concept of Sankofa invites us to return and retrieve what is valuable from the past. But Sankofa does not ask us to remain permanently facing backwards. We recover memory to move into the future with greater wisdom. And the next phase of African diaspora relations must therefore move from symbolic return towards substantive partnership. Diaspora communities should not be regarded simply as sources of remittances, tourism, investment, or expertise, because they are part of the wider African historical family. Many seek not only commercial opportunity, but dignity, understanding, relationship, and meaningful participation. At the same time,
Reconnection must be approached with humility on all sides, because Africa is not culturally uniform. Ghana is not a single historical community, and the continent contains many peoples, languages, political traditions, and experiences. Identities formed in the Americas, the Caribbean, and Europe under slavery, segregation, and racial discrimination developed within circumstances different from those in which ethnic, linguistic, and national identities developed within Africa. We must therefore listen to one another. Continental Africans must listen seriously to the experiences of racial injustice, cultural displacement, and historical dispossession carried by the diaspora communities. At the same time, members of the diaspora must also listen to Africa's experiences of colonialism, political struggle, poverty, state building, conflict, and development. Neither side should claim exclusive ownership of African identity. We must meet as relatives separated by history, now with the opportunity to construct a shared future. Traditional leaders. Traditional leadership can contribute significantly to this process because traditional institutions carry historical continuity in ways that governments cannot always provide. Governments can create diplomatic frameworks, immigration systems, investment policies, and legal structures, while traditional institutions can provide cultural interpretation, community entry, historical context, and a sense of belonging. The responsibility must, however, be exercised with integrity. The reconnection of the African family must never become a marketplace in which belonging is sold. Traditional titles must not become commercial rewards. Historical claims must not be invented to satisfy emotional expectations. And sacred institutions should not be trivialized for tourism or spectacle. To be received into an African community is to enter a relationship, and every meaningful relationship carries responsibilities. If the diaspora is to reconnect meaningfully with Africa, then reconnection should contribute to education, cultural preservation, enterprise, community development, scholarship, and mutual understanding. Traditional institutions can help establish processes for community engagement and protect diaspora visitors and investors from exploitation. Still, traditional leaders must also protect local communities from arrangements that disregard their rights and livelihoods. The objective must be shared and sustainable prosperity. This naturally brings us to the university's responsibility. Universities are among the great custodians of civilization. They preserve knowledge, interrogate assumptions, challenge falsehood, train professionals, and shape the intellectual imagination of society. But universities must also learn to listen. For too long, some African systems of knowledge entered academic institutions only after they had been reinterpreted elsewhere. Knowledge preserved orally was sometimes dismissed as inferior to knowledge preserved in writing. While African institutions were often studied through conceptual categories that engage insufficiently with African societies themselves. This imbalance must be corrected without abandoning academic rigor. The elder who preserves the history of a community, the queen mother who understands the structure of the royal family, the linguist who preserves court language, the farmer who understands the local ecological system, and the customary authority who has spent decades resolving disputes may possess forms of knowledge worthy of serious scholarly attention. Such knowledge must not be romanticized. It should be examined critically. Historical claims must be investigated, evidence must matter, and contradictions must be acknowledged. Yet, intellectual rigor, intellectual respect are not enemies. The university and the palace should not exist in separate worlds. The university can assist traditional institutions in documenting histories, preserving archives,
strengthening administration and evaluating development programs, and preparing younger generations for leadership. In contrast, traditional institutions can help universities understand the cultural, moral, and historical environments within which African societies operate. Scholarship within community. Scholarship without community can become detached. Tradition without scholarship can become vulnerable to distortion. When the two cooperate, knowledge becomes both rigorous and socially meaningful. It is in this spirit that I believe Howard University, Ghanaian institutions, and traditional authorities can build a serious program of intellectual cooperation. There's room for sustained comparative research into traditional constitutionalism, customary law, mediation, restorative justice, land governance, the role of queen mothers, environmental stewardship, and community mobilization. There's room for a major program of digital heritage preservation that connects archives, oral histories, royal records, manuscripts, and endangered cultural knowledge. There's room for student and faculty exchanges in which young people encounter African societies and diaspora communities not merely as visitors, but as learners and contributors. There's room for professional partnership that link physicians, lawyers, engineers, academics, artists, historians, entrepreneurs, and community leaders across the African world. And there's also room for an enduring Howard-Manshia dialogue through which scholars and traditional leaders might examine the most important questions confronting governance, culture, and African diaspora relations. Our objective should not be to celebrate traditional institutions uncritically, but to study them seriously, because neither modern institutions nor traditional institutions should fear examination, and truth strengthens institutions that deserve to survive. I wish to finally address the young people present here, and through you, young people throughout the African world. You are heirs to a history that contains both extraordinary suffering and extraordinary achievement. And you have inherited technological possibilities that earlier generations could scarcely have imagined. Within seconds, you can connect Accra to Washington, Kumasi with Kingston, Lagos with London, and Johannesburg with Toronto. But technological connection is not the same as human unity. Unity requires knowledge, trust, discipline, and responsibility. Do not allow yourselves to define Africa entirely. Do not allow others to define Africa entirely for you. Study its history in its complexity. Learn its languages. Examine its institutions. Understand its achievements and failures. And do not approach culture only through fashion, music, and social media. However valuable these expressions may be, heritage requires deeper engagement. At the same time, you should not accept every inherited practice without question. Yes, because respect for tradition does not require intellectual silence. Ask questions, investigate claims, challenge injustice, preserve what is valuable, correct what must be corrected, and now add to the inheritance through your own creativity. The future of African culture will not be secured by elders alone. To be secured when young people discover when they inherit within their inheritance intellectual and moral resources that help them confront the problems of their own generation. You are not required to choose between being modern and being African. You may be a scientist, physician, engineer, lawyer, whatever, scholar of the highest international standing, and remain deeply grounded in the cultural inheritance from which you emerged. Indeed, the greatest contribution Africa can make to the world will not come from imitating others perfectly, but from participating confidently in global civilization while contributing knowledge. Institutions, values, and creativity that arise from our own historical experience.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, perhaps what we ultimately require is a new conception of global African responsibility. National citizenship will remain important. A Ghanaian remains a Ghanaian. An African American remains American. A Jamaican remains Jamaican. And a Brazilian of African descent remains Brazilian. Beyond these national identities, however, there can exist a moral consciousness that recognizes a shared historical connection and shared responsibility for the future. That responsibility includes preserving memory, strengthening education, opposing racism, expanding opportunity, developing African institutions, promoting ethical investment, supporting scholarships, and defending human dignity wherever it is threatened. Such unity must never become hostility towards others. The suffering contained within African history should not teach us hatred. It should teach us justice. Our historical experience should make us defenders of dignity, not only for Africans, but for humanity. The relationship between Ghana, Africa, and the global African diaspora must therefore be founded on more than ancestry alone. Ancestry tells us that we are connected, while responsibility tells us that we must do with that connection, what we must do with that connection. We must move from occasional visits to enduring institutions, from symbolic embrace to intellectual cooperation, from nostalgia to development, from the language of return to the practice of belonging, from remembering shared suffering to building shared strength, from sentiment to structure, from memory to responsibility, from connection to collaboration, and from a shared path towards a deliberately constructed future. There is an Akan proverb which says, meaning that when a single tree stands alone against the storm, it may fall. The strength of the forest lies not in the isolation of its trees, but in the relationship among them. Their trunks may stand separately and their branches may grow in different directions, but beneath the soil, their roots strengthen the same earth. So it is with the global African family. Our nations are different, our histories have followed different paths, our cultures have developed into different circumstances, and our experiences are not identical. But our futures can be strengthened through deliberate cooperation. There's another proverb, meaning that one hand cannot lift a heavy load. The work before us is too great for one nation, one university, one government, and one traditional institution or one generation. Africa cannot undertake it without its diaspora. The diaspora cannot undertake it without meaningful engagement with Africa. Traditional leadership cannot undertake it without scholars and young people. Universities cannot undertake it without communities. And governments alone cannot undertake it without the confidence and participation of the citizens. We must therefore live the load together, preserving culture not because we are afraid of the future, but because a people who understand themselves can enter the future with confidence. Strengthening governance, not simply to make institutions more efficient, but to make authority more accountable, humane, and just, and ensuring that traditional leadership remains worthy of respect by making service, integrity, and responsibility the foundations of its legitimacy. Let us strengthen the bonds between Ghana and the global African diaspora, not merely through ceremonies and declarations, but through scholarship, education, investment, cultural preservation, service, enterprise, healing, and enduring human relationships. Let the palace and the university meet not as rivals, but as partners in the pursuit of knowledge. And let Africa and its diaspora meet not simply as people reunited by memory, but as partners committed to building institutions that would outlive us. Let our young people inherit not only the stories of what our ancestors endured, but also the confidence to create what our ancestors could only imagine. Let the memory of separation inspire the labor of reunion, and let the wisdom of the past guide us while the future remains the
principal object of our work.
Jean.
May Howard University continue to uphold truth, service, and intellectual courage, and may the partnership between Ghana and the global African diaspora grow from strength to strength. May our traditional institutions remain living sources of wisdom, responsibility, and unity. May the generations that come after us look back this period and say that we did more than speak of African unity. We gave it institutions. May they say that we did more than preserve the memory of our ancestors and enlarge their inheritance. May they say that when history allowed our generation to reconnect the African world, we did not waste it. May Almighty God bless Howard University, bless the global African family, bless the United States of America, and bless the Republic of Ghana, and bless us all. Thank you very much.
Wow. You all were promised an enlightening evening, and that is exactly what was delivered. Your Majesty, you underscored the critical importance of accountability as it is related to governance. A key takeaway for me was when you talked about wisdom being shared, which is exactly what happens on campus at the HU. And we are so eternally grateful for your presence here this evening. Thank you so much for imparting such wisdom. Before we depart, we have a couple of things we want to give you first, and we know that a representative from the kingdom will come. First, we have our provost who wants to share something before we close, and then we will be followed by two other of our fellow Black Stars.
Otumfuo, we know it has been said that the most valuable thing that God has given to each of us is our spirit to connect with Him. But aside from that, the next most valuable thing that He has given each of us is time. And so, on behalf of the entire Howard University, we want to give you this gift of a Howard University clock which will memorialize the time that you have spent with us this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Provost. Next, we have Congressman Gabe Amo, who proudly represents Rhode Island's 1st Congressional District, but he also represents Ghana. He is a lifelong public servant, a dear friend and colleague of mine. He served in the Biden White House and the Obama White House, and he understands the critical importance of intergovernmental affairs like no other. Congressman, please join us.
Your Majesty, that was a remarkable address. I'm so humbled, proud, and honored to be here with you. I come to you as a member of the Congressional Black Caucus, and as a voice for Black Americans. We're also a voice for Black people, people of African descent around the world, and in that capacity I'm proud to join, but also proud to join as a proud Ghanaian with Ashanti roots. And so I want to present this certificate of special recognition, this proclamation, to His Majesty, Otumfuo Osei Tutu II, the Asantehene, in recognition of your distinguished service to the people of Ghana and your enduring commitment to unity, progress, and strengthening connections throughout the global diaspora. Thank you for embodying a tradition of service that reaches across generations and borders. Through philanthropy, cultural stewardship, and collaboration, you have uplifted lives and fostered a lasting sense of connection among Ghanaians throughout the world. On behalf of the people I represent in Rhode Island's 1st Congressional District, and on behalf of the entirety of the Congressional Black Caucus, I extend my heartfelt appreciation and best wishes for continued success and prosperity, progress for all of us, and especially for you as you carry on your great work. Thank you.
And last, but certainly not least, is my adopted son, the new president of the Ghanaian Student Union, Chris Yao Juma Apia. A Dean's List student here at Howard University. He too is Asante, and he is the 17th Howard University Mr. African Student Association, and he has been the perfect partner in working on this event. So son, please do your presentation.
Thank you. Abo! Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Apia, a rising junior, political science and criminology double major from Queens, New York, by way of Kumasi, Ghana. And I currently have the opportunity of serving as the current 2026 to 2027 Ghanaian Student Union president as well. Your Majesty, as a proud member of the Asante tribe and the sitting president of the Howard University Ghanaian Student Union, it is truly an honor to present to you this gift on behalf of the entire GSU. It symbolizes the unity, pride, and commitment we share as Ghanaian students at Howard University. who strive to cultivate an environment where we can build meaningful relations and support the overall growth of the Ghanaian community here in DC. We consistently seek to share and celebrate the richness of Ghanaian culture on campus and with the broader Washington, D.C. environment as well, too. Your presence here today is a powerful reminder of the very values we strive to uphold here at the Mecca and in every room we enter. Again, Otumfuo Nana Osei Tutu II, Akwaba and Yedawase.
On behalf of Otumfuo, Asantehene, and the delegation, I stand to say a big thank you for the wonderful presents that you have given us. They will indeed serve as a lasting memento of our visit to Howard University. And it's going to mark beginnings of a long-standing relationship between Menchia Palace and Howard University. Our lady here said the key takeaway that he had from Otumfuo's lecture be many and profound. And I think the key takeaway that we also have is the Africanness of Howard University. And Menchia Palace will do everything in its power to ensure the continuity of this Africanness. And I think there should be a reciprocal relationship from Howard University to Menchia, so that in the long run, in Sako and Saba, the hand go, the hand come, and then going and coming makes the cloth weaving more perfect. Thank you very much.
Yo. What an enlightening evening we have had. I just want to thank you all for coming one more time on behalf of the Millennium Excellence Foundation and on behalf of the university. Dr. Hope will just thank the sponsors of the evening, and we will leave united, energized, and ready to do the hard work of ensuring that we are all globally united as African people.
Thank you. Thank you for your leadership and partnership in bringing this event to fruition. My name is Dr. Tania Hope. I am the Assistant Provost for International Programs and the Executive Director of the Ralph J. Bunche International Affairs Center here at Howard University. And on behalf of the university, I thank you all for coming tonight. And I would like to especially thank my colleagues from the Center for African Studies, the Department of African Studies, two different things, the Department of Afro-American Studies, the Moreland Spingarn Research Center, the Ghanaian Student Union, the Ralph Bunche International Affairs Center, and my colleagues there in particular, thank you, and the Office of the Provost. This was a joint effort, a community effort, and we're so glad that you have been able to share this evening with us. Thank you to Your Majesty for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and we look forward to welcome you again. Thank you all very much.
What a profound lecture. And I hope that every one of us took notes on our phones, on papers, because I heard two things. Tikro and Kwejina. And Tikro and Kwejina. And also, wisdom is shared, it doesn't reside in the head of one. And our collective merging of our wisdom will let us scale every problem that we have. Nana, thank you for bestowing on us wisdom today. He deserves a bigger round of applause. And for your visit to Menchia, which I know all you are booking, But before that, you have to join us at Bowie State University on coming Sunday for Akwesidai Kesie. Akwesidai Kesie. And when you come, there's one thing you need to know. Please say it after me. Piao! Piao! Nanamo Piao! Aha! Sekutu! Aye, upon Agronasa. Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding. All our photo staff, please clear the way. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming. Reminding you that at the MGM National Harbor on Thursday and Friday, the Millennium Excellence Foundation and Michelle Palace will present to you the Africa Business and Investment Summit. There's $4 billion of deals going back to the continent. Make sure you're there. And also on Saturday, the Millennium Excellence Awards has some glittering awards and celebration coming on at the Warner Theater. You are proudly invited. Go to mefafrica.org, cop a ticket, get an invitation, and join us. Have a good night.
In the first traditional ruler or a non-state actor to receive a grant from the World Bank to pursue his objectives.
The